again, and thank you for joining me today as we talk about the upcoming full moon in Leo happening on the 16th or 17th of February, depending on your time zone, and the Mars-Venus conjunction, which is exact on the day of the full moon, but really is already in effect and will be until mid-March. I'll first give you an overview on what this full moon and the Mars-Venus conjunction mean in general. Then I'll get into what they mean for us by rising sign and house placement. Do make sure you listen to this overview first before jumping to your sign though, to fully understand the energies at play. So a full moon occurs when the moon is directly opposite the sun. For this one, the moon will be at 27, almost 28 degrees of Leo, opposite the sun at 27, 28 degrees of Aquarius. The full moon is in an exact square with the nodal axis, so this full moon has a karmic faded feel to it, and it's kind of a big deal. If you haven't watched my previous video on the lunar nodes transiting Taurus and Scorpio and how it will affect us by rising sign and house placement, I recommend you watch that one first before this one, as the lessons of this full moon will tie into what the nodes are teaching us in some way. At the time of the full moon, Pluto is in a trine to the North Node, so the act of letting things go can be very powerful and transformational. Jupiter and Uranus are in a sextile, and there is also a Mars-Venus conjunction in Capricorn as well, so all the rulers of the nodes activated at this time. There is a lot of potential. Mid-February is a time of purposeful change in the collective, but also in our personal lives, especially if you have planets or points at 27, 28 degrees of the fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. The full moon in Leo illuminates things in our lives that may have previously been unconscious. Thoughts, feelings, patterns, and events. It brings our awareness to what is ready to be looked at and acted on and healed. Full moons are also about letting go and releasing what no longer serves us. Leo is the sign of the heart, personal self-expression, creativity, generosity, self-love. It's ruled by the sun, which is our identity, the ego. What makes us feel purposeful, alive, and fulfilled. This full moon brings all of that to the surface. It illuminates what we want, what we need, what lights us up. Themes of attention and validation, as well as a sense of self and who we are in the world. Where this full moon falls in our charts is where we seek attention, applause, and adoration. It's also where we are naturally seen, so the full moon will trigger these themes. This full moon is also a culmination point of the seeds and intentions we planted in August 2021. What did you set in motion at this time? What has developed since then? You'll probably start to notice those themes coming up again and the results of those actions. What lights you up? What makes you feel happy and fulfilled? What makes you feel alive? What is in your heart? Something to think about is, how do we keep ourselves small because we don't want to impose or shine too brightly? What fears do we have around expressing who we are authentically? Is it not being liked or appreciated, validated? These are things to think about around this full moon. And if stuff comes up around this, stuff you don't need to carry anymore, recognize it and let it go. This full moon is also about courage. Where in our lives do we need more courage and confidence? How can we find the courage and confidence now to be ourselves? To let ourselves shine the way we were born to? Where are we avoiding being seen? How are we dimming our own shine? This full moon brings up the things we need to learn to enable us to be comfortable expressing who we are. And this is all forms of self-expression, by the way. It's not just literal verbal expression. This full moon brings up how we may not love ourselves or not have the confidence or belief in ourselves, so that we can apply those lessons to our way forward. This full moon will highlight what needs to change to help you with what the nodes are trying to teach you. And this can feel challenging, but this is like a stepping stone in our future direction. What do you need to express that will open new doors? What do you need to say goodbye to? What changes do you need to make in order to move forward? How can you be strong and courageous here and keep going? Leo is the individual, Aquarius is the group or the collective. It's me versus we. So there is an element of needing to combine these energies at the full moon. Who are you in the world? What is your part in the collective, your individual role? It's hard to detach from what is going on in the world right now. The change we would like to see almost seems outside of us, but it isn't. And this is the energy of this full moon. Who we are, what we bring to the table, our individuality is important and necessary. This full moon is about understanding and honoring who we are, what we want, what we need. It is about self-expression. It's about knowing what you stand for and having the courage to walk your talk. Aquarius is about freedom and liberation. How can we create more freedom in our lives by allowing ourselves to express our authenticity? How does not being unapologetically us restrict us? How can detachment from our authentic selves cause us to lose sight of what we value and what we're fighting for? There is an energy here of needing to let go of what others think of us, what society thinks of us, if it stops us from living our truth and being ourselves. To let go of acting a certain way that allows us to fit in and be approved of if we are discounting ourselves and editing ourselves in the process. This full moon invites us to work on inner self-approval and to work on celebrating ourselves. If someone is offended by you being who you are, and I mean authentically being who you are, then maybe you aren't in the right groups or communities, and it might be time to let them go around this full moon. You don't need that. If we find we are angry or offended by someone else being who they are, then that might be a clue to look at whether we are allowing ourselves the freedom to be us. And if not, it might be time for some healing in this area. Self-love is a big Leo thing, and Leo energy is generous with love. It has an abundance to give to others because it is already whole and comfortable with itself. How healing is love? Trying to love others in relationships, trying to love humanity as a whole without first loving yourself, is giving from a place of lack. It needs to start with us. Giving from a place of love creates lasting change in the world. It creates understanding and kindness and acceptance. If you accept and love yourself, you won't take things others do personally. There's no issues with boundaries. You see that someone being not so nice to you has nothing to do with you. This full moon invites us to find a sense of wholeness within ourselves, to fall in love with who we are and what makes us unique. If we are not loving ourselves or honoring ourselves enough to allow ourselves to be us, then what we give out can be more like bitterness and resent, not love. And this world needs love. You know how they say your vibe attracts your tribe? This is that. You, Leo, attracts your tribe, Aquarius. It starts with us. Don't worry what others are doing. Focus on you at this time and you will attract the right people, the right experiences through that. At the same time, respect is another theme associated with Leo and Aquarius. So I do think it is also important at this time. In order to be free to be us, we also need to respect the choices of others because that is them being them. A full moon on this axis shows us where we need to give ourselves enough love and the permission to be unapologetically us, to liberate ourselves. What do you love to do? What have you always wanted to do? What are you passionate about? What makes you feel fulfilled and happy? How can you do more of that? If you feel the need to compete or compare yourself to others, turn inwards. What is this teaching you about yourself? This full moon is an invitation to create some art in your life, to add a splash of color and a bit of fun, to channel what you're passionate about into creative pursuits, to connect with your inner child. This brings me to the other very creative and passionate energy in our skies and in our lives around the full moon, and that is the Mars-Venus conjunction in Capricorn. When Venus and Mars come together roughly every year and a bit, they bring a romantic, creative, passionate energy with them, which really ties in with this full moon in Leo. Mars and Venus are the lovers. They will be traveling together from now until mid-March, which is a longer time for them to be together than usual. They are in Capricorn at the moment and they will still be traveling together when they move into Aquarius in March as well. This is a very relationship, passionate, love-orientated conjunction, and being almost exact at the time of this full moon in Leo, I can't help but feel like some of this love we will all be feeling should also be directed inwards towards ourselves, as well as validation and self-appreciation. Regardless of what is happening around us, who we are meeting, who we are feeling inspired by, we cannot always fill the void with something external. So I think that even though this can feel exciting, we shouldn't forget about ourselves. With the Mars-Venus conjunction, there can also be tension building up and a feeling of being unable to fully release it. So it might be a good idea to channel this into something creative if you do feel tense. Fights and conflicts are possible in our relationships, but with this happening in Capricorn, we need to be mature and responsible with what comes up. As Venus is part of this, we are learning lessons on attaining peace and love too. Independence, willfulness, and compromise are important parts of this. It's such an interesting aspect. Mars, the god of war, Venus, the goddess of love and peace. I feel like this will stir up themes within us and around us, but with a conjunction, we need to work on fusing this Venus energy. How can asserting ourselves, going after what we desire, bring us a sense of peace and harmony? Desire is a big thing with this conjunction, as well as acting on our desires. This duo is at 16 degrees Capricorn around the full moon, so it's going to bring up themes with goals and ambitions as well. If you have planets or points around 16 degrees Capricorn to around 7 degrees Aquarius, you'll be feeling this more personally between now and mid-March. In the world around us, we will probably see action in governments and other forms of authority, tension, but also resolution in a way. The Mars-Venus conjunction invites us to work on balancing our masculine and feminine energies, our independence and relationships, and our personal needs and those of others. Are our goals and ambitions in alignment with our values? Are we acting on what we desire and what we stand for? Mars is exalted, so it is stronger in Capricorn, but the Venus lessons on relationships, money, values, harmony that we've been learning since November and through Venus's retrograde period can be integrated into what comes up now. Basically, relationship themes are highlighted for a while longer yet, and Mars and Venus will actually conjoin with Pluto on, I think it's around the 3rd of March, and this is happening in Capricorn, so this can bring up stuff with boundaries in relationships, power themes in relationships, and this is all relationships, by the way, romantic, professional, family, friends. So now let's get on to what all of this means in our birth charts. For the following interpretations, as always, check your birth chart to see where 27, 28 degrees of Leo and Aquarius fall for you for the Leo full moon, especially if you use Placidus house system. If you do, then listen to the house interpretation rather than the rising sign. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, listen to the interpretations for your rising sign. If you are an Aries rising and 27 degrees of Leo is in your 5th house, the full moon is in your 5th house, so the sun is in your 11th house. You're letting go of hiding who you are because you want to fit in. You're letting go of expressing yourself a certain way so that others like you. Releasing censoring yourself to fit in, because if you're doing that, then you're probably giving too much energy away to friends and communities that don't value the real you anyway. That Scorpio South node in your 8th house is bringing up old, outdated stuff that has kept you stuck. Fears or expectations that others may have projected onto you, and you're letting go of their expectations if they are not in alignment with your own needs and desires. You're releasing power others might have over you, if that stops you from expressing your individuality. For you, this is also about worth because the full moon is squaring that north node moving through your 2nd house. You're letting go of the need for external approval and doing you so that it can benefit your resources, how you make money, your confidence and your self-worth. This can be a full moon that highlights dating if you're single, or love affairs. It can also be about gambling because the 5th house is the house of speculation and it is squaring the north node in your 2nd house, so money can be in focus too. This is a time where you should allow yourself to have fun and to be creative as a way of self-expression. You are learning to do what you consider fun around this full moon, and like I said, 5th house is the house of dating, and with the Venus-Mars conjunction in your 10th house of your work and your career, maybe a little office romance or attraction that wasn't there before might surface, or dating someone you work with, or it could be about falling in love with your work. This full moon also teaches you to play and to honor your inner child. Let yourself be childlike, to be creative and see what comes up. What are you putting your heart into? The Mars-Venus conjunction in Capricorn is in your 10th house, so relationships you have connected to your career are going to be in focus too. This might be a time where you meet contacts that help you with your career, or you may be working on getting something in motion in this area. You're taking action in your career, especially taking action on what you desire and value in your public life. Looking at validation and attention in your career, and how finding the balance between what you want, need, and what others want and need in your career. There might be more responsibility for you at this time as well. If you are a Taurus rising and 27 degrees of Leo is in your 4th house, the moon is in your 4th house, so the sun is in your 10th house. Home and family, where you live, can be highlighted, as can your career, as well as anything relating to confidence and self-love that you may have learned early in life. This can involve family stuff too, and the need to be approved of by your family. You could be moving because of work, having fun at home with your family, changing things up a bit. You could also face dramas in the home, maybe around your identity and your approach to the world, since the moon squares the north node in your first house. You could be letting go of dramas at work or at home that maybe stem from wounds from early life or your past. Do you need to stand up for yourself, for who you are with your family? Can you be yourself around them? What you're learning over this full moon also helps with how you express yourself to the world. So what family stuff or early life conditioning stands in the way of you doing that? What stands in the way of you being seen? Maybe you're learning to express yourself through your ancestry or your culture. A full moon in your fourth house can also be quite emotional. It can bring up emotional patterns to be observed and healed. It might also be a good idea to make a creative space in your home so that you can create in private. With the Venus-Mars conjunction in Capricorn in your ninth house, you might feel inspired to expand your horizons, to travel and step outside your comfort zone, taking action on what you value here. You might meet others at this time who help with this expansion, or you might find you're falling in love with other cultures or even people from other lands. You might also be motivated to learn something new, perhaps something spiritual, philosophical, or political while Venus and Mars transit your ninth house. If you are a Gemini rising and 27 degrees of Leo is in your third house, the moon in your third house and the sun in your ninth house is about being yourself in regards to communication. Are you holding yourself back in any of the ways you express yourself, censoring yourself, editing yourself? You are finding the courage to say what you need to say and allow yourself to be seen. This can also be about learning something new or sharing what you have learned, literally speaking up, expressing yourself. Are you communicating in a way that expresses who you are, or are you acting like someone else? For you, this full moon is an opportunity to let go of fears of being judged and not being liked because of your opinion. You are owning your talents because they are yours and you have learnt them so that you can share them. People need your light. Siblings and neighbors can also feature this full moon. It can also be about teaching. This full moon can trigger spiritual stuff for you too, since the north node is in your 12th house. Also perhaps showing how you may self-sabotage or get in your own way when it comes to expression. The Mars-Venus conjunction in Capricorn in your 8th house can highlight getting close to people, getting intimate, giving, receiving, deserving. It can also bring renewed commitment in partnerships or taking them to the next level. You're finding value in being able to trust another. It can also highlight situations with others or fears that may stop you from authentic expression leading to transformation. Power stuff too, as well as financial lessons and other people's money stuff. For some, this will be related to relationships too, and it can be a very passionate time. The 8th house is the house of sex. It's also the house of committed relationships, like the deep, below the surface level kind of stuff. You are taking action on your values and desires in terms of finances and other people's money as well. If you're a Cancer rising and 27 degrees of Leo is in your second house, the full moon falls in your house of money, your resources, your talents, and your self-worth. How can you add creativity into your way of making money? How are your talents or resources struggling under fears or not being confident? Are you confident in your abilities? Do you need to take a risk here? Money, possessions, and ownership are highlighted for you. You're learning to courageously express yourself and your talents. This full moon illuminates the need to value and appreciate yourself. I feel like learning to love and value yourself will help you attract others who appreciate and value you too, because that North Node is in your 11th house. The groups of friends you will meet will reflect how you feel about yourself. This could also be a time where you become aware of talents you didn't pay much attention to before, particularly creative ones. And you're working with finances and confidence themes as well. With the Mars-Venus conjunction in Capricorn in your 7th house of relationships, I feel like if anyone is going to be feeling this energy, it's going to be you. This area of your life is highlighted extremely. Whether you are coupled or not, you could experience full-blown passion and romance in your love life. But the conjunction can highlight the need to remember the whole me versus we, mine versus ours vibe. So passion can turn into conflict if it isn't channeled properly. Mars and Venus conjunct in your 7th house is going to bring up relationship themes for sure. If you're not in a relationship, this might be a really auspicious time where you meet someone who really excites and inspires you, who ticks all the boxes. If you are already in a relationship, then this can really spice things up. You're taking action on what you value and desire in regards to relationships with others. If you are a Leo rising and 27 degrees of Leo is in your first house, the full moon happening in your first house, the house of self and identity, is highlighting themes of confidence and courage, how you express or present yourself to the world, your perspective, who you are. This is a time to do you. Your needs versus those you're connected with are highlighted too. Are you being your authentic self or living life in a way in hopes that others will approve of you? You can find you're reflecting on relationships or may experience stuff with relationships come up, like whether you're getting your needs met or whether you have enough independence. You are figuring out what you want from relationships with others, and this can really be all types of relationships, not just romantic ones. Maybe it also has to do with where you're employed or how you are of service, as the Mars-Venus conjunction is in your 6th house. You might be working on health, habits, and fitness stuff relating to your body image, or maybe dieting. How does confidence or fear of what others think of you block you from expressing yourself when you're interacting with others and when you're meeting new people? This full moon illuminates stuff for you that is beneficial to your career or public life, as the North Node is in your 10th house. So there's something about learning to express the real you proudly and confidently in the way you enter the outside world, massively benefiting your career and public life. With Venus and Mars in your 6th house, you're feeling more driven and motivated than usual, especially in terms of health and being of service. You're taking action to achieve what you want in this area, and it could even bring some romance or good times with co-workers or employees. If you're a Virgo rising and 27 degrees of Leo is in your 12th house, this full moon can really illuminate secrets and things that have been hidden. It can also illuminate parts of you that have been hidden until now. You might feel the need to retreat and take a few days off to rest, just to get to the bottom of what really lights you up and how you express yourself. This can also make you aware of your sense of self. If you feel like escaping, finding a creative endeavor to put your passions into could be really helpful at this time. Also, it can be a time where you're working on whether confidence issues or lack of self-worth can be forms of self-sabotage or self-undoing. I know for some Virgo risings, you gain your confidence from doing things the best way possible, but I think it can be helpful to look at how self-love and self-appreciation and validation play a role in this too. It can be a time of letting go of patterns that self-love is selfish. It can also be tricky because the moon in Leo can help you, be seen. So if that's something that makes you uncomfortable, how can you work on that? Can loving yourself help you give more, serve in a more wholehearted way? The North Node in your 9th house is about expansion and growth. It can also be about your beliefs and perspectives as well. Maybe the ones you have on yourself. So this full moon is going to trigger some lessons in that area too. It's also a good time for you to let go of bad habits and old routines. Venus and Mars in Capricorn are conjunct in your 5th house. So again, this is a super creative time. Escape into this rather than any bad habit. Some spiritual time or a spiritual practice can help too. Painting as a way of meditating or something like that. This conjunction is in your house of love affairs and dating. It's also the house of children. It's a good time to turn passion into creativity. You could go on a date at this time, or get a new date with someone, or meet someone where there is a lot of chemistry that, if you're willing to see where it can go, can turn into a long-lasting and serious relationship. There's a sense of pursuing here and taking action on what you want. Again, this is a very creative conjunction, so if you're an artist, writer, or creative type, you could find so much inspiration now, so take advantage. Children can also be on your mind at this time, or you might be enjoying time with your little ones if you do have kids. If you are a Libra rising and 27 degrees of Leo is in your 11th house, this full moon illuminates the need to retain your individuality within groups and using what you have and who you are to benefit others. This can be about friends, networking, your tribe, and fitting in. This can be a time where you feel called to collaborate or do something in the community. How can you bring your authenticity into your groups and friend circles? How can you use your creative talents and expression to help others out or benefit the whole? Are you being true to who you are or trying to please others? Or are you censoring yourself so that you can fit in? Or are you worried that you'll upset others if you're true to yourself? Are the groups or causes you're involved in ones that really light you up? If not, it is safe to let them go now. Could you join a group that is built on creativity or self-love, or an artistic group? This triggers the North Node in your 8th house, and this could highlight situations involving power with others. The lessons you are learning over the full moon in regards to being yourself around other people also help with what the North Node is teaching you over the next year and a half. So the resources of others, financial stuff, deep relationships. You may find that you're being seen in the wider community, or if you've been working on group projects, the spotlight may be on you now. You might also feel called to be generous in humanitarian or charity type activities. The Venus-Mars conjunction in Capricorn in your 4th house puts the focus on your home life, early life, validation and assertiveness. You're feeling motivated in your home life, feeling like taking action to create what you want. Maybe it has to do with real estate or finding somewhere exciting that you can see yourself living. Maybe you just want to move. You could be inspired to beautify your home or open your home up to those you love or have them over for a gathering. For some, this might even involve moving in with a partner or someone who excites and inspires you. You could also be really enjoying your family at this time or reminiscing on events of the past. If you're a Scorpio rising and 27 degrees of Leo is in your 10th house, this full moon is lighting up your area of career, your reputation, status, leadership. You're being seen by the public and working on how you feel about this. You are integrating more of who you are in your work. This is a time for you to be courageous, to find the courage to lead. Authority figures can be involved in this. You might become an authority figure yourself or be given extra responsibilities. It can also be a time of achievement. Confidence can also be a theme. You're being called to be your authentic self in the outside world, to shine your light. This full moon can also trigger your relationships and how you interact with others, since the North Node is in your 7th house. So the lessons you learn around the full moon can really help with your soul's evolution and what you're learning over the next year and a half in regards to relationships. Family and home life and childhood experience can be involved too. Notice what comes up and let go of fears of expression, fears of being yourself, fears of being seen. You may also find yourself letting go of jobs or careers where you feel you can't be yourself, or letting go of ones that just don't seem to light you up anymore. The Mars-Venus conjunction is in your 3rd house, so this can be a time where you feel the call to learn and teach. How you express and communicate is illuminated. This is a great time for creative writing, public or motivational speaking, or you may be learning something creative as a form of expression. If you haven't acted on something that you've wanted to for a while now is the time. There's a lot of energy encouraging you to go for what you want. You might also be feeling like a short trip or a visit to another city and may feel inspired to learn something and share your views with others. If you're a Sagittarius rising and 27 degrees of Leo is in your 9th house, the full moon is in your house of travel, education, law, publishing, of all things spiritual and religious or philosophical. Foreign things. How can being yourself expand your horizons? You may be expressing who you are through your overseas connections or through publishing. Maybe it has to do with your religion or spirituality. Are you following a belief that is in alignment with you? Can you be yourself within that religion or culture? This full moon is illuminating this for you. It's also illuminating your beliefs in general. Maybe those you have on yourself and what lights you up. Maybe you're expressing yourself through what you teach. This full moon triggers the North Node moving through your 6th house. So maybe you're clearing out outdated beliefs that in turn help you to create better habits and routines. Also how you serve. Venus and Mars in Capricorn are in your 2nd house, and this can be a good time, well, an interesting time for your finances, especially if you're seeking to improve your finances. The conjunction is in Capricorn, so you will need to work for it to an extent. There's a feeling of taking action on what you value and what you have desired for a while now. This is a creative and passionate transit, so this can highlight the need to use your creative talents and resources to make your money. It's also a time to be showering yourself with love and to be expressing what you want and what you value. If you're a Capricorn rising and 27 degrees of Leo is in your 8th house, this full moon is lighting up your area of other people's stuff, other people's money, the resources you get from others. So this can be about giving and receiving, generosity, transformation, power you may have given away to others in terms of wanting to feel special and appreciated. It can also highlight what you haven't been saying or doing in terms of money stuff. And it can also be about your sense of deserving. This triggers the North Node moving through your 5th house as well. So your creations and hobbies are tied into this, as well as friends and those you're associated with. What you're learning over the full moon with the moon in your 8th house helps you to express yourself creatively and gain the confidence and courage to do that. You are figuring out what you want, what lights you up. What do you consider fun? What do you need to ask for at this time? The 8th house is the house of transformation and fears. So around this full moon, you may discover any fears you have around being yourself and expressing yourself, and also being seen, as well as any fears or blockages you might have around money. You might be asked for a loan or focused on some shared financial themes. Investments can be involved too. Try not to go too crazy with things that could bring you debts. Leo is a generous spirit. Mars and Venus in Capricorn in your first house puts a focus on your approach to the world, how you express yourself, how you relate to others. You may feel the need to put yourself out there to take action on what you value and what you want to see come to fruition. You may find you're meeting people in your interactions that really inspire you. This is a time of creating greater self-confidence and focusing on your appearance and how you're seen. This is an energizing, motivating transit too, which you'll probably love being a Capricorn rising. And your relationships can also feature in this, especially your relationship to yourself, but also all those that you have with others too. This conjunction is a great opportunity to express yourself in a more creative way and to set some things in motion. You might also be feeling motivated to take action on your health and vitality, even inspired to change your hair or your personal style. If you're an Aquarius rising and 27 degrees of Leo is in your 7th house, you're learning to be yourself in your relationships. You're learning to find the balance between you and others and working with how you relate to others. You can be working on themes of selfishness or detachment, coldness in relationships as well, and maybe attention or appreciation in partnerships or visiting these themes with others. Codependency and independence are also themes featuring in the 1st and 7th house axis, as well as finding the balance between giving and receiving love. Working on expressing who you are authentically in your relationships too. Letting go of relationships where you feel you can't truly be yourself or are not appreciated for being you. The North Node is in your 4th house, so your family life or domestic life is changing and you're learning lessons on stability here. So how does this full moon give you a push in that direction? How does learning to be yourself help with a more stable home and family life? Mars and Venus in Capricorn are in your 12th house, so this can be about stuff that's unconscious or hidden, bringing things to the surface. This is Mars and Venus, so this can be about secret affairs or forbidden love or attraction or secrets being exposed. This is a good time to really look at what comes up here in regards to relationships. Because this is your 12th house, themes of self-undoing can come up, or maybe unconscious patterns in relationships, including your relationship with yourself. Like, how does that affect your relationship? You'll be inspired to explore this area. You might have passionate dreams or be seeing people in your dreams who awaken this passion, curiosity, and love in you. This conjunction heightens your intuition. The 12th house can also bring you inspiration and insights from other realms. Write this stuff down if you receive it. Keep a dream journal at this time. There's also a feeling of taking action on what you want in your spiritual and creative life. If you're a Pisces rising and 27 degrees of Leo is in your 6th house, the full moon illuminates your health, well-being, work, employment, daily routines, co-workers. Are you expressing yourself authentically at work or in how you are of service? Are you doing what you're doing only to make someone else happy? This is a time to really look at self-validation and self-appreciation, because Leo in this house can have a tendency to do things and be useful for the praise sometimes. But ultimately, if you feel bitter or resentful in this area, you have to learn to appreciate yourself and to give from a place of love, because you have learned to love yourself and honor your needs and put yourself first. You may find yourself wrapped in work dramas or in the spotlight in work or service related roles. Are you working in a role that lights you up, where you feel appreciated? What about your confidence in how you are of service? What is giving like when you are of service? Are you also giving to yourself? Are you loving yourself? This triggers the North Node moving through your 3rd house, so expression and communication are tied into this. Use the situations this full moon brings up to help you with communicating and speaking your truth. This could also be about incorporating more creative routines into your life. At the same time, you have the Mars-Venus conjunction in your 11th house, which can really give your social life a buzz. You might find yourself falling in love with new groups and friends, maybe literally falling in love with a friend. It's a great aspect for making new friends and social contacts and connections. Ones that are really exciting and ones that could be important for a while yet. And you might also be doing things with others that are fun and exciting. You can also be inspired to create new hopes, dreams, and wishes and ambitions too. And get what you value and desire in motion, maybe due to those you meet at this time. I would love to hear how this full moon and the Mars-Venus conjunction go for you, so please let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. If you found value in this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel if you already have. Thank you. I hope you have an excellent rest of February, and I will see you all in the next video.